age. And the text comes from 1 Timothy 4:12, which says, "Don't let anyone look down on you because you are young, but set an example for the believers in speech and conduct and love and faith and in purity." We all have a purpose. There's purposes we want in our lives. There's purposes our families want in our lives, but we also have a purpose from God. And not many people know that. There's people now walking around who are living their best life. They're walking around doing what they want to do, because in this country it's so common for people to say, oh, just do what you want to do what makes you happy. They have no idea that God has a purpose for them in their lives. So I just have a question for all of you, just to think about while you're here, and children as well. Do you know God's purpose for your life? Not what you want, not what you thought your purpose is, but you actually heard from God and He said, this is your purpose. I just want you all to think about it. But going back to people right now who don't know their purpose from God, I believe that it probably wasn't taught to them, which is why today, in honor of it being Children's Month, I really want to speak to children, but I also want to speak to adults, that children can start stepping into their purpose at a young age. There's no age limit for purpose. Sometimes we may look at kids and say, oh, they're inadequate. We may say, oh, they're too young to do this. We just saw the great performance they did, and they only had a week to practice that, and look how great that was. Kids are amazing, and kids are very, very impactful. They're impactful in the world, and they're also impactful in the kingdom of God. Children and youth are the ones that set the trends. I was thinking, if kids and youth stop using apps like Instagram or Snapchat or YouTube, those companies would be at risk, because not only do kids take up majority and youth take up majority of those accounts, but they're the trendsetters. So if they were to stop using it, I'm pretty sure adults would be like, oh, well, it can't be cool anymore. We can't do that anymore. So that's how impactful kids are. So imagine if we can just put that word inside of them to let them understand you have a purpose, and allow them to walk in that purpose, because it's either that or the world. And in this world there's temptation, in this world there's evil, and as they grow up it's not going to get better. It can potentially get worse. Even in school people learn new things. So if they're rooted right now in their purpose, and as parents and even adults, we can help them do that as well. And let's just encourage them and let them know and let them understand that. So I want you guys to get 3 things out of this message today. The first one is, children, you're not too young to discover your purpose, God's purpose for your life. Number 2, parents and adults, we can help them. And number 3, just because you step into your God's purpose for your life does not mean that you're meant to be a pastor. It does not mean that you're meant to lie down at the altar every day and pray. That's what I used to think as a kid growing up. That's why one reason I was like a little scared. I didn't want to know God's purpose for my life, because I'm thinking I'm going to have to be here all day, you know. But you can also have a career. If you look at Pastor, for instance, Pastor, he's pastor here, he preaches, but he also has a career outside of that. So you can also fulfill God's purpose for your life, but you can also have a career as well. I just want to clear that up there. But going back to the text, it says we're supposed to be examples of believers. I feel like if you understand how to be an example as a believer, an example of the Word of God, of a child of God, then you'll be able to step into your purpose easier, but it'll also help you to navigate it. For example, say you want to be like a TV personality, or you want to be a dancer, but you understand how to be an example in conduct, how to be an example in speech, especially for TV personality. You will know what things to say while you're on television, what things not to say, what conversations to participate in, and what conversations not to participate in. So to be an example is said in speech and conduct, and love and faith and in purity. But I want to first talk about faith, love, and purity, because that's on the inside. And what's on the inside of you will come out. Like in Luke 6:45, it says, a good man brings good things out of the good stored up in his heart. An evil man brings evil things out of the evil stored up in his heart. For the mouth speaks what the heart is full of. So eventually, what's inside of you will come out. So if there isn't love inside of you, if there isn't purity inside of you, that's not what's going to come outside of you. So first I want to talk about faith, because faith is the foundation of our whole spiritual journey. It takes faith to even believe in God. Children, it takes faith to even believe in God, and we all need a certain level of faith to allow us to get through this life, to allow us to trust God. So the definition of faith is to have complete trust and confidence in a person or a thing. So having faith in God means having complete trust and confidence in the Lord. Not just partial trust. Not, oh, well, Lord, I trust you, but things aren't really working out the way I wanted it to work out. So now I'm going to take it into my own hands. That's not 100% trust, especially when discovering purpose. Like I said before, we already have, even since a kid, when they ask you, what do you want to be? We already have that thought idea of what you want to do in life. So say you want to be an actor, and you're saying, okay, I need to go to this school to train when I'm in college. After I leave this school, I need to go to this training camp. I'm going to probably move to California or LA or even Atlanta, right? But as you ask God for his will to be done in your life, God may take you to a place you didn't think you would be in. God may take you to a place maybe you're not comfortable around the people. But God doesn't really care so much about being comfortable. He cares more about your calling. So if you're in that position where you're like, Lord, I need to know my purpose, the purpose that you have for me, it's going to take faith. So when God's saying, okay, I need you to maybe pack up your bags and go here, or I need you to go to that school instead of that school, it's going to take faith to say, Lord, I trust you. Lord, I may not understand, but Lord, I believe in you and I trust you. Because sometimes the reason why we don't understand is because we rely on our own understanding, not the Lord's understanding. We only rely on things that make sense to us, to our own human brain. Sometimes we don't even get to see the bigger picture. We can't even fathom the thought of seeing the bigger picture, but God knows everything. So just because you're going to a place that you may have never been there before, that does not mean that it's not going to work out. God knows how to get you there. God knows the way to take you there. It's not going to make sense to you sometimes, but that's where you need faith. And faith is so important that, and it's one thing because God will test your faith too to see if you will trust him. But see, the enemy will also try to test it, but not only will he test it, he will try to steal it, kill it, and destroy it, because that's what the enemy comes to do. I believe that the enemy only tries to hinder things or take things away from you that will eventually prosper you. So faith is so important in your life that the enemy doesn't want to take it. Because see, what faith does, faith allows you to look like a normal person, but be able to do supernatural, miraculous things. If you were here last Friday for our prayer, if you were to see the people in that room on the street, you would say, okay, they're probably just regular everyday people, going to work, going home, feeding their kids, which they are, right? But if you were in that room, you would see the supernatural things that happened. If I was to explain what happened that night to someone who doesn't come to church, or to someone who maybe doesn't believe God that much, they're going to think I'm crazy, because it's not normal. God to speak through others, that stuff is not normal. So even though we may look normal, but when you have faith in God, you open up your whole entire self to God. You open up your mind, you open up your heart, you open up your soul to God. And that he allows, when you do that, the Spirit will come through you and be able to speak through you, but that takes faith. So being an example in faith as a believer, you have to speak with faith. You can't say, oh yeah, I have strong faith, but then as soon as something happens, like, oh, maybe I don't know if this is going to work out. Now you're scared. And this is something I have to tell myself, because growing up, I can, especially like in high school, I can say I didn't have that much faith, because I could be asked to do something like today, like preach or speak in front of people, and I'll get so nervous. And I'm just like Tiffany, where's your faith? Even like as I was going over this message, I was nervous. I'm just like, I know this is a part of my purpose. So I'm just like, I have faith in God that if he's asking me to be up here and preach today, then I have faith that he will tell me what to say. He will move through me, and he will take the nerves away. So, and you will know as to be an example. You can say, how am I supposed to be an example in faith? Faith will show through your works. Just like the Bible says, for the body without the spirit is dead, so faith without works is dead. Faith without works is dead. When you have faith, it will show in your works. So that means that when you have faith, it will show by the works that you do. It will show how you act with people. It will show how you talk to people. And as you continue to grow in faith and you continue to trust God, you will see the love that God truly has for you. And you will see that he truly does love you, because it's not going to be like a straight path. You know, you're going to mess up. God might tell you to go one place. You might be hesitant and stay. But the Lord will continue to strengthen you, and you will see love from God. And that's the second example. We're supposed to be examples is in love. If you don't experience true love from God, you don't know what true love is. Unless you've experienced the love that God has for you, that no matter how many times you mess up, no matter how many times you may even you may even deny God. No matter how many times you may be embarrassed to speak of God or to say confidently that you're a believer in God, God still loves you. So love is something that we always want, but sometimes it's the hardest thing for us to give out. So in 1 Corinthians 13, 4-7, it says love is patient, love is kind. Love does not boast, love is forgiving. Those are all parts of love. And you see, love is not just a word, it's not just a feeling or a thought, but it's also an action. How do you show your love for God? Because Jesus didn't just say he loved us. He was nailed to a cross and died for our sins to show that he loved us. So how do we show that love not only to God, but also to our friends, also to our families? And sometimes not being able to fully love will hinder you. I was talking to a lady a couple days ago, and she was telling me, growing up in her family, how she has a hard time loving them. And she explained to me her life story. I was saying, what do you want to do now with your life? She's like, I want to move to New York. And I was like, okay. She's like, but I can't go there. I'm just like, why can't you go to New York? She's like, because my family is there. I said, okay. She was like, I was like, have you forgiven your family? She was like, no, I can't forgive them. She's a believer. So she was like, they hurt me. And I asked her, I was like, have you been perfect with God? Do you think you've ever hurt God's feelings? Do you think that maybe God had trouble to be able to pick you and to get you to believe in him? She was like, yeah, nobody's perfect. I'm not perfect. I'm like, exactly. And I told her you're supposed to be an example. And I said, just how God shows his love for us, we have to show that love for others. So just how God doesn't say mean words to us. God doesn't say hurtful things to us even when we mess up. So even to your siblings, even to your kids at school, show them love. Even if they mess up, help them, just how God helps us. But sometimes it can hinder you, because she didn't want to go to New York because she said she didn't want to see her family. She doesn't love them. I was like, well, if you love them and you forgave them, would you move there? She's like, yeah, of course. So I'm like, because it's hard for you to love them, it's hard for you to forgive them, you're choosing not to do that, you're not hindering yourself. She works in New York. It's easier for her to live there. Right now she's in New Jersey. But if she can just open up herself and say, no, I love you, I forgive you, then she would have a place in New York to live, and she would have a job there. It would make life so much easier. Because sometimes it's so hard to be mad at people. I feel like sometimes it takes more energy to be mad at someone than to just forgive them and say, I love you. Like, that takes so much more energy. Even me, sometimes I can get mad, but I can only get mad for 2 minutes, because after that, it's too much energy now. I'm over it. I'm not going to continue to just be angry at you. So just learn to love one another. Love is forgiving. And I know that forgiveness can be hard, especially if someone has hurt you. But you have to always remember that just how the Lord has forgiven us, we have to forgive others. Just how the Lord does not count our wrongs, we cannot count other wrongs. Even in friendships. Say your best friend hurts you, or your best friend does something. Of course, that's hard to forgive that person, but don't count their wrongs. Just forgive them. If that person is toxic for you, it's okay to love people, but you don't have to be in their face every single moment of the day. I used to think that, once I forgave someone, that means I have to be best friends with them again, or that means I have to be close with them. That's not true. If someone is toxic for you, that's understandable. If they're not good for you, that's understandable. You can love them from a distance. Forgive them. Don't count their wrongs. If you see them, it's okay. Say hi. Whatever. If they call you in need, just be there for them, because that's what we need to do. That's how we show love to one another. And it's so much easier just to love people. It also makes you feel better too, just to love one another. So today, I just challenge the kids, especially this week, do an act of kindness. Show how you love your siblings. Show how you love your parents. And sometimes love is not always pretty. Sometimes you can love someone and you're trying to help them, but maybe they're not understanding it. So it's you need to, probably be a little forceful with them. Even children, sometimes your parents may yell at you. That's not because they don't love you. It's because they want the best for you. So just because you love someone doesn't always mean you have to be nice to them necessarily, or be so soft and gentle. Sometimes you love them so much you have to yell for them to get what you're saying. So I just wanted us all to be examples in love, and remember to just do an act of kindness this week. And the third example we're supposed to be examples in as a child of God is in purity. So 2 Peter 2:19 says, they promise them freedom while they themselves are slaves of depravity, for people are slaves to whoever has mastered them. So when people think of purity, they only think of sexual purity, but it goes beyond that. There's purity in the mind, there's purity in the body, and there's purity in the soul. Whatever you let whatever you let all your time, you spend all your time doing, you will eventually become. Just like the saying, you are what you eat. So whatever you are a slave to, that's what's going to master you. Whatever you keep surrendering to, that's what's going to master you. So if you're surrendering to the Lord and you're surrendering to his word, that's what's going to master you. That's what your life is going to be about. If you're around people that are negative or people that are impure, that energy is going to slowly come and go onto you. So who are you? What shows are you watching? What music are you listening to? Is it helping you to be pure? Is it helping you to be more open to God and more accepting to what he's telling you? Because purity also makes it easier to hear from God as well. Purity also makes it a little easier for God to use you. Now, I'm not saying you have to be pure for God to use you. God will still use you, because at the end of the day, God still needs to get things done. He will use who he feels like is available at that moment, or who has the capabilities of doing it at that moment. But it'll be easier if you're spending more time listening to music that, say for instance, you're coming to church, right? And you're listening to trap music, for instance. I know older people probably like, what is trap music? But younger people, kids, y'all probably know what that is, right? If you're coming to church and you're listening to trap music, that song's probably stuck in your head as you're coming to church. So now you're in church, right? And as pastor is preaching, as they're singing praise and worship, that song is stuck in your head. You can't even get the song out. So now you're probably missing what is happening, what the word is saying. So sometimes you just have to just clear yourself out of the impurities. But also being pure also is being conscious of the sins you're committing. Because if you're conscious of the sins you're committing, you have to be able to understand and have control and ask help for God. Because none of this stuff we can do on our own, especially if it's a struggle. You have to ask for the grace from God to help you in order to accomplish this. So in order for you to be pure, you just have to clean yourself out. And I believe you have to be able to love God more than yourself. Because a lot of times we could be impure because of our own flesh. We like certain songs. We like certain people. So our flesh tells us to go after them. But if you love God more than you love yourself, you will say, okay, I shouldn't do that. Because in this world, they like to mask impurity as the good things. So as you're trying to go through life and you're trying to say, okay, I'm going to go to church, I'm going to be holy, when I go home I'm going to read the Bible, to the world that's weird. Especially if you're young and you're a kid and you tell somebody in your class, they're like, okay, you're weird. That's not normal to be. So you have to be mindful of that this world will say that those bad things are the good things. That if you're not doing it and you're not participating in it, then you're missing out. And that's not true. Because at the end of the day, everything we're doing here will help us when we get to heaven. Because I know there's a popular saying, YOLO, you only live once. But I remember I heard a pastor say, we don't live once, we live twice. So at the end of the day, is you have to do what's right, be pure what's right here on earth, so that when you get to heaven as well, it will pay off, it will work. So just be pure, clean yourself, ask, what am I doing? Who am I hanging around that's not making me pure? Who am I hanging around that's encouraging me to do things that are impure? Just cut yourself off from them. It's okay if someone's not good for you. It's okay if that person is not good for you. If you need to better yourself, then just separate yourself from them. So the next example we're supposed to be is in speech. I feel like speech and conduct kind of go hand in hand, but first let's talk about speech. So Ephesians 4:29-30 says, do not let any unwholesome talk come out of your mouths, but only what is helpful for building others up according to their needs, that it may benefit those who listen. So the words that come out of our mouth should build others up. Children, the words that come out of your mouth should build others up, not hurt them. So the same mouth that you use to praise God with, what else are you doing? What other words are coming out of that mouth? To be an example in speech, what language are you allowing to come out of your mouth? You're saying, oh, I love the Lord, praise the Lord, but you're still using that same mouth to curse down someone else. You're still using that same mouth to speak filthy language to others. So as an example, you have to be mindful of what you say, and that goes hand in hand with conduct. Because part of conduct is what your speech was, what you say. That's part of conduct. I remember I was in school like 2 weeks ago. Sometimes I do what's known as reacting off life. If I feel like I'm being disrespected or someone hurts my feelings, in that moment I'm quick to go there with you, like really quick, and I'm like, you can't do that, you can't react off life. So I was in class and we're in a writers group. And I remember our professor gave us permission to be there in the classroom. She's like, stay as long as you need to. It's fine. No worries. So as we're in the class and as we're working, a group of women come in and they just stare at us. So we're just like, hi. And they're like, oh, we have this room scheduled. So the other student that's in charge is like, are you sure? Like, we're trying to figure out this confusion. So the women are like, yeah, like we have this room scheduled, and being really disrespectful. So in that natural instinct, I was ready to go there with them. But that's when I had to tell myself, Tiffany, everyone in this class knows you're a minister. Even like my whole entire show is about church. Even sometimes we're in the writers group and we end up talking and have deep conversations about church and about the Lord. And it's actually one person in there who is turned off by church a little bit because she says that pastors don't practice what they preach. So how am I going to sit there and continue to tell them how to, speak good and love one another? In that moment, I go there with her. So you also have to be conscious of being an example. If you say once you say you're a child of God, people are going to automatically start expecting certain things from you. They're going to already start looking at you in a different way. You don't even know it yet because you said you're a child of God. They're automatically going to start thinking you should act a certain way, which you should, and speak a certain way. So I have to think about that in that moment. So I was calm. I was like, okay, you can't react. So now I was like, okay, maybe there's some confusion. So that's when the guy was like, yeah, maybe there's some confusion. So we contacted the professor. At the end of the day, it was just confusion that happened. But then also have to think about those women too. One of them could come into this church one day and see me doing opening prayer and just like, I don't think I want to stay here. I just went there with her, and now she's doing opening prayer. So being mindful in the way you conduct yourself. Philippians 1:27 says, only conduct yourselves in a manner worthy of the gospel of Christ, so that whether I come and see you or remain absent, I will hear of you, that you are standing firm in one spirit with one mind, striving together for the faith of the gospel. So we're supposed to conduct ourselves in a way that even people tell the Lord, like, oh yeah, she's acting properly. He or she is doing the right thing. I remember even in college, right? Especially in college, or especially even as a kid, there's a party going on, or there's an event. You're telling someone, oh no, I have Bible study tonight. I have to go to Bible study. That's not normal to do. You don't feel comfortable because of the peer pressure. I remember when I was back at school, I had a friend, and my friend, he was actually Muslim. And I remember he came to me, he told me, he was like, what's wrong with Christians? And I'm just like, what do you mean? He was like, it's so much harder being a Muslim. I'm just like, why are you even trying to compare which one's harder, which one's not harder? So use an example. We had like a youth fellowship on the campus that I was a part of. And he said, every time I see people on Snapchat in the church, hours before they were drunk at the party, even the people that were in the choir singing. And it's true, because they were singing in the choir, but they didn't really know how to conduct themselves as a believer, because he's someone that's not a Christian. So someone that's not Christian, someone that doesn't even believe in God, is going to see that, and they're going to use that one example, and then they're just going to judge the whole entire family, they're going to use that one example to say that we're all bad, we're all wrong. So you have to be mindful of how you're conducting yourself in public once you say that you're a child of God. So now that we've gone through how to be an example, I believe that if you understand how to be an example as a Christian, it will help you to understand how to walk in your purpose easier. And I gave it the two examples earlier. If you want to be a dancer, or if you want to be a TV personality, if you understand how to be that example, it will also help you to navigate life easier. And that's the first thing it does. So today I want to specifically talk to children and parents about going back to the youth and going back to children. It's never too late it's never too early to step into your purpose. There's so many benefits of stepping into your purpose at a young age. The first one is that it makes your life easier to navigate. If you're 10, right, and you have already spoken to God, God has confirmed it, others may have confirmed it too, his purpose for your life. And say for instance, God says, when you're in college, I need you to move to Oklahoma for your purpose. You already know, now that you're applying to colleges, you already know you don't even need to apply to colleges in one state. You can let go of the whole other 49 states, because that's a whole other thing in general, not knowing what school to go to. That's a whole other issue of stress. So if you can already know that in your life, it will cut down things so much easier, and it will make your path so much easier to follow when you're young. So the second thing I want to talk about as far as being an example is that you won't miss the doors or opportunities that God has for you. Like I said before, God works through us to get things done here on earth. God will have a door open for you to go through and step into your purpose. But if you're not ready, or if you don't know it yet and you're scared, you're not going to be able to walk through that door. God will still use someone else because the job needs to get done. But let that person be you. That person could be you. You could reap benefits. You could reap rewards for that. So if you understand purpose at a young age, as you go through life, you won't miss the doors that God has for you. If you're 19 and God has a big door for you to step into, but throughout your childhood, throughout your teenage years, you never knew that. Now that you're 19, that whole door is waiting for you, but you're not going to go through it because you didn't know. Now God's going to get a different 19-year-old to go through it. And now that's going to help them and benefit them. So you just don't want to miss the doors or the opportunities God has for you, because those doors and those opportunities come with blessings. They come with rewards. God will be able to use you to help you do great and wonderful things. The third thing that helps you to understand purpose at a young age is that you won't waste time. I know so many people right now who say, okay, right now I want to do music, for example. Or right now, I want to be a chef. Now, that's fine, right? Now, you can do that. There's nothing wrong with being a chef. There's nothing wrong with cooking. But say God is like, I don't need you to do that in your life. So say now you're 20, you're going to school, you're going to culinary school. You're saying, okay, I need to do this. I need to be a chef. I need to work. So now you're 20, say 10 years go by, you're 30, and you're just like, you know what? I don't think God called me to do this. Now that 10 years of your life was wasted. Because when you didn't learn it when you were young, now those 10 years have been wasted a little bit. That time that you could have taken to step into purpose, the time you could have been taking to listen to God, you did it. So now I waste a little bit of time, which is not a bad thing too. So if you are an adult, you didn't know, it's not terrible. You can always step into it. But it's best to do it when you're young, because now that you go through life, you make the better decisions. You will definitely live a better life, marry the right person, raise your kids the right way, rather than making all the mistakes, and then now you're 35 and you don't. You know what I mean? Or you're 40 or 50, and now it's like you kind of have to start over in those things you missed. So it's best to just start young. The fourth benefit of stepping into purpose at a young age is you get to bear responsibility, which only make you better. Lamentations 3:27 says, "It is good for a man that he bear the yoke in his youth." So a yoke is a tool used for farming, right? They put it on the animals, and they connect that to like a weight or like hell or something, and then the animal pushes it. It's heavy, but the animal has to push it. So when it says it's better for us to bear a yoke in our youth, right? It's better to understand responsibility at a young age. So even parents, it's good to teach your kids responsibility now, and also understand that with responsibility, and if they don't understand responsibility, that there's consequences to follow, because bearing yoke can be heavy. And also sometimes children need to be their own teachers. Sometimes you can continue to drill something into children. You can continue to tell them something, but they don't understand it. I remember one time I was watching my cousin, who at the time he was 3 years old. When he's in my house, he likes to jump on the couch. I always tell him, don't jump on the couch. In my house, it's like a sectional couch, and there's like a table in the middle. So whenever he comes, I usually just move the table out the way. But I'm like, no, this time he has to learn that he can't jump on the couch. So I continue to tell him, don't jump on the couch. Don't jump on the couch. So eventually he stopped. But see, I wanted to test him. So I pretended to be asleep, right? I just closed my eyes. I wanted to see if he was really going to do it. So I closed my eyes, and he waits a couple minutes. Because he's smart. He wants to make sure I'm asleep. He waits a couple minutes to make sure I'm in like a deep sleep, not like I just went to sleep, I can easily wake up. So I lay there, and as I knew he would do, he gets back up on the couch and starts jumping. So I tell him, stop, right? So he stops. So later on that day, I'm in the kitchen, right? All of a sudden, I hear a big like boom or like clap on the that hit the floor. So I went to the living room, and he had fell on the floor. He's okay, thank God, he's fine. But I guarantee you, ever since that moment, he has not jumped on that couch ever again, because he learned from his mistakes. So I know even as parents, we try to drill responsibilities into them, but sometimes if they're not taking that responsibility, they just have to be their own teachers in life. Sometimes they're not going to really learn until you tell them. And I know that even growing up, bearing a yoke can be heavy, but it's better to mess up now when you have your parents to pick you back up. If you're trying to teach Emmanuel something, right, and he messes up, I'm pretty sure pastor's not going to kick him out the house. Pastor and Mr. Gift, they're not going to kick him out and say, Emmanuel, we're done with you. He's young. He's a baby. They understand that. So it's better, even Divine. Your parents won't do that either if you mess up. It's better to just mess up, bear the responsibility, bear the yoke, because you still have your parents to rely on. If you're 35 and you keep messing up, I can probably tell you might get kicked out. You might have to just do things on your own. So it's better to just bear that responsibility. With that, it makes you stronger. As you go through life, you'll be better. I always notice that the most successful people sometimes are the ones that have been through the most adversity as a kid growing up, because they face so much adversity. They have to figure out how to maneuver certain experiences in life that now that they're older, they've already learned that as a kid. Now they're grown. They still have those things with them. It only makes them stronger in life. And I know that bearing the yoke can be hard, because sometimes God will try to steer you in the right direction. And it can be hard, especially responsibility He will give you. I remember when we were ordained as ministers, the entire day I was so excited. I was happy. I felt good. I'm like, okay, I'm on a closer journey to walking into my purpose. And I remember after the service, I just thought to myself, like, Tiffany, what just happened? Like, I felt the weight of being a minister, like, right after. I'm like, wow, like, there's things now that I'm going to, like, I have to do, I can't do, and I felt that weight. And to be honest with you, it was a little scary, right? Because I'm not, I wasn't used to being in prayer meetings all the time, or just, saying no to friends and being in church. But I know that as a minister, it's part of my duty too. So when it originally happened, I was like, wow, this is really heavy. I know someone else who was ordained that day had mentioned something similar. Like, this is like, it's heavy to carry, right? But I'm happy I'm doing this now. Because even if I mess up now, I still have a church family that will say, okay, here's how you do it. I still have pastors say, here's how you do it. Even preaching today, right? At first, I was like, Pastor, no, I can't do it. But eventually, I'm going to have to do it. If I wait 3 years, if I keep shying away, 3 years from now, I'll tell someone, well, yeah, I'm a minister. And they say, oh, well, where's the first place you preached or anything? And I say, oh, I haven't. They're going to look at me like, what do you mean you haven't? But now that I'm in this age and I'm young now, I know that I still have people that will help me and lift me up. Even though the burden can be heavy sometimes, I know that I have a church that will help me. So it's always better to just do it when you're younger. It's better. You can make mistakes and people won't judge you. Honestly, kids, you're lucky because you can mess up and nobody's going to judge you for it. People are going to forget about it. So just do your mistakes now rather than when you're an adult. Do mistakes now while you still have your parents and your family to just pick you back up and to vouch for you. It's best to just do it now. And the fifth benefit of learning, of understanding God's purpose for your life at a young age is that when you're young, you honestly have less troubles. I'm not saying that just because you're a kid, you don't have any troubles in your life. There's kids who go through things, but you have less troubles and you have people there to help you. So it's better if you understand now before you're married, before you have to deal with the kids, before now you're taking care of a family. Take the time you have now, because right now, especially kids, I'm pretty sure you go to school, you come home, you have your activities, but you don't have really... You might have responsibilities like chores, but you don't have anything too much. Like now, like even me right now, I'm not married. I don't have kids. If pastor says, okay, I need you to be in church, I know that of course I have school, but if I don't have school, then it's easier for me to be here. So it's better to learn that now and to do it now while you don't really have that much responsibilities, because the more responsibilities you have, the tougher it's gonna get. And now you have a job, you have to pay rent, you have to do mortgage. It's gonna be so much more. It's going to be so much harder to get through that with all the responsibilities that you're bearing. So do it now while you're young. And Ecclesiastes 12:1 says, remember the Lord while being young and stick to His ways. So remember the Lord while you're young, also while you're strong too. When you're younger, you're stronger, you have more energy. Kids have so much energy. Kids have way more energy than I feel adults do. So do it now while you have the energy for it. Do it now, because as you get older, it's not good. It's not good to say, I think it's better to make the decision like, okay, I'm going to change my life because I know this is what the Lord wants, rather than when you're older and you say, okay, I'm tired of this party life. What's next? I'm tired of this club life. I'm tired of always hanging out. I don't know what's next. It's better to do it for the Lord, especially while you're young, and make that decision consciously, than just make the decision because you're tired of your old life. You're tired of the partying life. So those are the five benefits to if you discover your purpose, God's purpose for your life at a young age. So I know people may be wondering, well, how do I discover purpose? So the first one I want to talk about is prayer. God made you. God knows your purpose. The only one that can tell you what your purpose is God. If a man or a woman made an invention, right? Created something, and they dropped it here and said, use it. I don't know what it does. I can't ask the machine. The machine can't tell me what its purpose is. I would have to ask the maker what the purpose is. And that's the way we are as children of God. If you want to know your purpose, you have to pray and ask your maker to do it. And the only way to hear from God is to pray. And also when you pray, Pastor always says you need to meditate when you pray. That's how you hear. Because prayer is not just a list of complaints, a list of things you need, and then, okay, thank you, Lord, I trust you, love you, and you go. You need to hear what God says. It's a relationship that you have with God. So even as you pray, just ask the Lord, Lord, what is your will for my life? But actually wait and see what God says. Just take time and be quiet and pray to see what the Lord tells you that your purpose is. And the second thing is to understand that it's not about me. It's not about you. A lot of times in life, like I said before, they tell you do what makes you happy. But in Ephesians 1:11, it says, all things are done according to God's plan and decisions. And God chose us to be his own people in union with Christ because of his own purpose, based on what he had decided from the very beginning. So the Lord already decided what he wants us to do with our lives from the beginning. He knows already he already has something for us. It's not what we want, it's what he wants. So when you try to discover purpose, especially now, a lot of people say, oh, use self-help books. Sit down, meditate, think about what makes you happy, think about what, things you like to do. That's what a self-help book is going to tell you. But it's not about you. It's not about what you want. It's not about the things that make you happy. And of course, God is never going to put you somewhere that you're not going to be happy. But sometimes we don't understand that, because God can be moving you somewhere and you think you're not going to be happy, but it could be the best move of your life. It could be the best decision of your life. God knows, like I said, God knows more than we do. So we just have to understand it's not about me. It's not about me. It's not about what I like, but it's what the Lord wants. Because the Lord is the one that gave me life the Lord is the one that gives me life every single day. And the Lord is the one that will continue to give me life. So who am I to say, oh, Lord, I don't want to do that? The Lord could say, okay, I don't want to give you life. And that's it. The Lord continues to bless us in so many ways. He continues to bless our families in so many ways, our friends, in our whole entire lives and beings. So we just have to sit and really say, it's not about me. It's not about what I want to do. It's not about what makes me happy, but it's the Lord's will in my life. And also when you pray, because I used to do this prayer one time, I would ask the Lord for something, and I'll say, Lord, if it's in your will. But in my heart, I wanted his will to be the same will as mine. Like I say, okay, Lord, do you want me to go to this place? And look, like in my mind, I'm like, yes, Lord, you want me to go, you want me to go. But no, because I just asked if it's in his will. You can't say, Lord, if it's in your will, and then say, okay, this is what I want. If you say, Lord, if this is in your will, let that be it, because it's the Lord's will. And like I always say, he knows best. So I just want to say that, one, children, you're not too young to know your purpose from God. It's never too young. You're never too young to step into it. And if you are an adult, I'm not trying to come for adults here. I'm just really trying to encourage kids. If you're an adult and you don't know your purpose from God, it's okay. Let the past be the past and just move forward. Just start from today. But kids, you're never too young to discover purpose. Parents and adults, there's ways you can help them. And just because you discover purpose does not mean that you don't have a career. And don't ever limit yourself. Don't ever say you can't do it, or you're too young, or make up excuses. That's something I hear from Pastor Hilla. I used to make up a lot of excuses, but don't do that. Just open up your entire self to him and just give him your all, and he will help you. It will make your life easier. It will make your life easier to navigate. And I just want us all to just rise and pray. Lord,